Titan Quest returns after a 19-year break. Path of Exile 2 is dethroning Diablo. No Rest for the Wicked finally steps out of the shadows. And Warhammer 40,000 crashes back with Mechanicus II. And that's just a glimpse of what I prepared for you in the review of the best 15 isometric games of this year on PlayStation 5. What's up, guys? It's Broz, and here we go. And at number 15, we have Path of Exile 2. The highly anticipated standalone sequel from Grinding Gear Games is gearing up for its full launch, following an early access period that kicked off in late 2024. From the outset, the game immerses players in a dark yet visually stunning atmosphere, where beautiful graphics, impressive special effects, and excellent sound design contribute to a deeply engaging experience. Originally conceived as an expansion, the project grew into a full-fledged game, bringing significant overhauls to its core mechanics. A major change is the revamped skill gem system, where gems are no longer socketed into gear, offering much greater build flexibility. This opens the door to a giant number of unique builds that can be reconfigured extensively, a process now much simpler than in the first game, which often required external guides. Gold now serves as the primary currency, simplifying vendor interactions considerably. Combat in New Part shifts to a more methodical, skill-based approach, drawing comparisons to Souls-like games, as dodge rolls no longer consume stamina, unlike Diablo 4, making them an indispensable and constantly required element of gameplay. The emphasis has moved to active player movement rather than simply tanking hits. Boss fights have become remarkably cooler, very dynamic, and memorable, demanding precise execution over mere gear checks. The game has absorbed the best elements from its predecessor, now featuring fewer overwhelming monster hordes and special effects that previously obscured the action. This results in clearer and more tactically rich combat encounters. Its difficulty has also increased, particularly in its later stages. While the new player experience and campaign received praise for clarity and improvement over the first game, early access feedback has been mixed, with some players expressing concerns about restrictive build choices, slower progression, and a less rewarding endgame, particularly regarding map objectives like killing rare monsters instead of bosses. Despite these points, the developers aim to create an ARPG where players can break the game with unique builds, preferring too crazy over boring options. The game also supports crossplay and local couch co-op, a long-awaited feature for fans. Path of Exile 2 holds immense potential to become a leader in the Diablo-like genre, poised to displace Diablo from its top spot. The full release is planned for 2025, with the caveat that the PS5 version might be available slightly later than the PC version. Therefore, a delay of the consoles until early 2026 is quite possible. But the good news is that the full game is expected to be free to play. Commandos Origins, released on April 9, 2025. Marks the long-awaited revival of the iconic real-time tactical stealth series. Serving as a prequel, it delves into the formation of the legendary team between 1940 and 1942. Developer Claymore Game Studios, founded by Calypso co-founder Simon Helwig, specifically to resurrect the franchise, drew inspiration from films like The Guns of Navarone and Inglourious Bastards. The game retains the classic isometric perspective, with players commanding an elite squad of 6 specialists, equipped with distinct abilities and tools. A key innovation is the command mode, which allows players to queue individual actions for each commando and execute them simultaneously, reminiscent of Mimimi games like Desperados 3. This opens up vast possibilities for creative solutions. However, unlike older titles, the inventory system has been simplified, with equipment constantly displayed on screen. Early previews and the demo elicited different reactions. Critics commend the map design, opportunities for creative eliminations, and the overall atmosphere. Yet some players note that the game feels softer and less hardcore than the originals, citing issues such as enemies not reacting to fallen comrades, the inability to tie up or search bodies, and a bothersome motion blur effect. The game is available on PS5, Xbox Series, and PC, with PS4 and Xbox One versions slated for later in 2025. Titan Quest II, the much-anticipated sequel to the classic ARPG, is scheduled for PC Early Access in summer 2025. A full release, including console versions, is largely expected in 2025, contingent upon the success of the Early Access phase. Developer Grimlore Games decided to delay the release to avoid a crowded ARPG launch window and allow the game to receive deserved attention. The narrative transports players to ancient Greece, where they must stop Nemesis, the goddess of retribution, who is distorting the threads of fate. One of the central mechanics is the ability to combine two masteries to create unique classes and builds, offering ample room for experimentation. Combat has become more complex, demanding active dodging and the use of all available skills, rather than simply relying on gear checks. Playtest feedback indicates that developers are actively working on improving combat fluidity, aiming, balance, and performance optimization. Many players praise the atmosphere, music, and flexible skill system, while others criticize the awkward combat, a lack of character power progression, and a general lack of originality compared to the original Titan Quest. Performance issues on powerful graphics cards and concerns about excessive hand-holding and minor death penalties in the demo have also been noted. Nevertheless, the addition of a fourth mastery, the Rogue, has been announced for early access, promising even more build variety. And considering this is a new installment of a game beloved by many after a full 19 years, one hopes all the bugs will be fixed. Eriksholm: The Stolen Dream, released on July 15, 2025, is an isometric, narrative-driven stealth game from River End Games, set in a Scandinavian city from the turn of the 20th century, inspired by Gothenburg. This small studio comprises veteran AAA developers who previously worked on titles like Battlefield and Little Nightmares. The story follows Hannah, who searches for her missing brother Herman, becoming entangled in a police chase and confronting darker forces. Gameplay centers on switching between three characters, Hannah, Alva, and Sebastian, each possessing unique skills essential for solving puzzles and navigating stealthily. For instance, Hannah can crawl through vents, Alva climbs drainpipes, and Sebastian can swim. The game adopts a puzzle box approach to stealth, featuring meticulously crafted encounters and instant scene restarts upon detection, distinguishing it from open-world stealth sandboxes. Visually, the game impresses with its use of metahuman technology for realistic characters and captivating cinematics. For the pros, many highlight the plot, atmosphere, and puzzle design. The cutscenes are also excellently crafted, completely free of the uncanny valley effect. As for the cons, some note linearity, a lack of innovation in stealth mechanics, and excessive tutorials. There were also questions about the game's price of $40 for a relatively short playthrough of about 10 hours. No Rest for the Wicked. The new and highly anticipated action RPG from Moon Studios, known for the Ori series, launched into PC Early Access on April 18, 2024. The game stands out with its unique painterly art style, which many describe as a living painting. The combat system is inspired by Souls games. It's animation-driven, tactile, and demands precision and timing rather than simple button mashing. No Rest for the Wicked attempts to blend ARPG and Souls game elements, which sparks interest but also creates friction, for instance between its vertical level design and a repetitive loot-focused endgame. This title presents an evolving town that changes according to player input. Feedback during early access showed a spectrum of opinions. Over 42,000 Steam reviews show 78% positive ratings, demonstrating considerable interest, though with critical remarks. Players report performance issues, especially on powerful graphics cards, limited inventory, and underdeveloped endgame systems. Furthermore, the game faced controversy due to comments from Moon Studios co-founder Thomas Mahler regarding negative reviews and financial danger, which were later retracted. Notably, in March 2025, Moon Studios acquired the publishing rights to the game from Take-Two Interactive. Despite the challenges of early access and internal controversies, No Rest for the Wicked continues to draw attention as an ambitious project poised to redefine the ARPG genre and emerge as one of its leaders. Developers made an important announcement on July 21st, stating that given current market conditions, they will likely focus on PS5 and possibly Switch 2 for now. Therefore, a full release on PS5 is expected in late 2025, but it's quite probable it will be postponed to 2026. Warhammer 40,000 Mechanicus II, the sequel to the tactical turn-based strategy game from Bulwark Studios and Casino Games. A key feature of the sequel is the ability to play as both the Adeptus Mechanicus and the ancient Necron legions. Developers aim to present the story from the Necrons' perspective, offering a glimpse into their motivations and personalities beyond simply being the bad guys. Gameplay retains the XCOM-style turn-based tactical combat, where cognition points determine the number of actions characters can take per turn. Familiar heroes from the first game will reappear. Among the new elements is the introduction of the Leagues of Votann, making their first appearance in a Warhammer 40,000 video game. Their purpose on the contested planet Mechanicus IV remains a mystery, adding intrigue to the plot. The community eagerly anticipates the sequel and updated graphics, though some players express doubts about how the Votann aesthetic will fit into the overall grimdark atmosphere of 40K. While multiplayer is not planned for the game, the focus on a rich single-player experience promises a deeper dive into the lore and strategic depth that fans of the original will undoubtedly appreciate. The game is announced for release in 2025, with no specific dates. Moonlighter 2: The Endless Vault, the sequel to the popular action RPG and shop management hybrid from Digital Sun, is set to release in summer 2025. The game retains the double life concept, where players explore dungeons for loot and then sell it in their shop. However, the sequel transitions from 2D pixel art to a 3D low-poly style. Developers have stated that the game leans even harder into the unpredictability of the roguelike genre, adding more randomness to both dungeons and shop management mechanics. The trading system has been reworked. It no longer revolves around finding the right price or haggling, but instead focuses on maximizing profit through decoration bonuses and shop runs with roguelike elements. These changes have elicited a mixed reaction. Some players miss the old pricing system and find the new one boring, or compare it to a dishonest car salesman simulator. Combat has become faster and more dynamic, introducing new mechanics like the backpack slap and the focus system, but performance issues were also noted in the demo. The Endless Vault shows genuine promise, aiming to deliver a rich, strategic experience with its deeper mechanics, enhanced combat, and evolved shopkeeping systems. It is set to launch on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, and PC in summer 2025. Jotunnslayer Hordes of Hel, an action roguelike in the horde survival genre based on Norse mythology from Games Farm and Grindstone Publishing, will exit early access on September 3, 2025. The game, initially released in PC Early Access on January 21, 2025, combines bullet heaven elements similar to Vampire Survivors with Diablo-inspired mechanics. Core gameplay involves battling waves of enemies, receiving divine blessings from Norse gods like Thor and Loki, and customizing runs with diverse characters and weapons. A meta-progression system allows for unlocking permanent upgrades and new possibilities. Early access feedback on Steam is generally very positive, but it's not without its downsides. Some players find the game generic or mediocre compared to competitors like Death Must Die, noting a lack of X factor. Also observed are performance issues, such as frame rate drops and extended loading times on certain PCs and the Steam Deck. Additionally, there are complaints about repetitive music, unclear skill effects, and imbalance in certain abilities. In response to this feedback, developers plan approximately 9 months of early access to introduce additional levels, unique heroes, new challenges and mechanics, and expand the roster of Norse gods granting powers. Further UI changes are anticipated, alongside the potential for higher difficulty levels after the full launch. Sworn, a cooperative action roguelike for 1 to 4 players from Windwalk Games and Team 17, launched into PC Early Access on February 6, 2025, with the full release on PS5, Xbox Series, and Nintendo Switch expected by December 31 of this year. For those who don't know, December 31st means there's no specific release date yet, but the developers are planning to release it sometime within that year. The game offers a dark reinterpretation of Arthurian legend, where players must explore and reclaim a fallen Camelot from the corrupted King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table. The core narrative reveals that King Arthur drank from the Holy Grail, which corrupted him and his knights, leading to the poisoning of the land and the spread of monsters. Players take on the role of soul-forged entities, tasked by Merlin to defeat Arthur and halt the corruption. Windwalk Games consists of veterans from Riot Games, Niantic, and Blizzard, adding significant weight to their project. Gameplay focuses on cooperation, allowing players to combine character strengths, master abilities, and test thousands of builds using over 200 unique Fey blessings. The game is often compared to Hades due to similar roguelike elements and dynamic combat. Early access feedback on Steam is very positive. Fans praise the game for its resemblance to Hades, engaging co-op, and high replayability. Nevertheless, some players note issues with the dash mechanic, which sometimes feels delayed, the absence of a pause in solo runs, and a relatively low base difficulty before progressing to higher tiers. Additionally, community feedback highlights a desire for more level diversity and a skip option for repetitive cutscenes, particularly boss introductions, to enhance the flow of runs. Some players also report bugs, such as freezing when grabbing a blessing, and issues with certain weapon balances, like the halberd feeling weak or some monk weapons feeling clunky due to movement restrictions during attacks. The Precinct, an isometric action-adventure police simulator from Fallen Tree Games and Kuali, was released on May 13th. The game transports players to the crime-ridden Averno city of 1983, where they assume the role of rookie police officer Nick Cordell Jr., investigating his father's murder. The project draws inspiration from early isometric Grand Theft Auto titles, but shifts the perspective. Here, players operate on the side of the law. The Precinct offers a dynamic crime system, ranging from minor infractions to gang shootouts, with the ability to patrol the city on foot, in various vehicles, or even by helicopter. The environment is fully destructible, and car chases are highly dynamic with realistic handling. The game encourages adherence to procedures, influencing experience gain and unlockable upgrades. Reviewers praise the 80s atmosphere, crime dynamics, and thrilling chases. However, there are criticisms regarding repetitive missions, clunky on-foot gunfights, uneven animations, and a superficial plot. Fallen Tree Games, a small indie studio, faced significant challenges optimizing the game across 3 platforms simultaneously, a task they admit was overly optimistic given the potential for bugs in an open-world environment. Despite these technical hurdles and a story that some found underwhelming, The Precinct delivers a unique and often chaotic sandbox experience, appealing to those who enjoy an idealized portrayal of 80s policing and dynamic, emergent crime scenarios. Lost in Random: The Eternal Die, a roguelike spin-off from Stormteller Games, was released on June 17 for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, PC, and Nintendo Switch. In this game, players control Queen Alexandra, the antagonist from the first installment, within a gothic fairy tale world. This marks a significant genre shift from an adventure game to a roguelike, with an emphasis on gameplay over deep narrative. The game also, like Sworn, is often compared to Hades due to its similar combat loop and progression system, with some critics even calling it Hades, but better in terms of gameplay mechanics. Its features include dynamic real-time combat, tactical elements, a dice-rolling mechanic, and card-based abilities. A unique relic system provides temporary buffs and shapes your build, with color matching offering additional bonuses. Levels are procedurally generated, though gameplay areas are handcrafted. Criticisms include a secondary plot, a short campaign, and the feeling that the game is a Hades clone, lacking its narrative depth compared to its inspiration. Despite the narrative being less central than in the original, the game's strong gameplay loop, unique visual identity, and focus on replayability make it a compelling entry for roguelike fans, offering a fresh perspective on the Lost in Random universe. Achilles Survivor, a dynamic single-player bullet hell action roguelike from Dark Point Games, exits early access on July 29, 2025 for new and old-gen consoles and PC, with a Nintendo Switch version slated for third quarter 2025. Set in ancient Greece, the game is part of the Achilles Legends Untold universe. Gameplay focuses on battling thousands of enemies, constructing various structures like towers, healing stations, and summoning allies, and developing the character with unique talents. Special attention is given to resource management and strategic placement of these constructions. A meta-progression system with obols and adamant allows for long-term upgrades. Those who played enjoyed the engaging gameplay loop, exciting horde mode, and unique building mechanics. But there are criticisms regarding generic graphics, stiff animations, and bland character designs. Early access saw bugs with summoned allies getting stuck, fragile constructions, and too frequent drops of the same skills upon leveling up. Overall, this title delivers a compelling cycle of horde mode survival and strategic building, with its full launch promising new content, mechanics, and godlike chaos for players seeking a fast-paced, action-packed roguelike experience. Deliver at All Costs, released on May 22, 2025, is a physics-based, narrative-driven action-adventure from Studio Far Out Games and Konami, featuring fully destructible environments. The game transports players to 1959, where they take on the role of Winston Green, a down-on-his-luck courier delivering unconventional cargo and leaving a trail of havoc. The main feature is that almost everything in the environment is destructible, allowing players to create their own shortcuts by driving through buildings. Vehicle controls are arcade-style, making chases thrilling and chaotic. This title boasts a unique concept, stylish graphics that evoke retro postcards and humor. On the downside, it suffers from repetitive missions, clunky on-foot character controls, and a narrative that oscillates between absurd and overly dramatic, frequently coming across as strange or unpolished. Notably developed by a small team of 14 people with backgrounds in architecture and film, the project began as a student endeavor, facing challenges in optimizing physics-heavy destruction across platforms. RailGods of Hysterra, a cooperative action RPG with survival and base-building elements from Troglobits Games and Digital Vortex Entertainment, launched into PC Early Access on May 7th, with a PS5 version planned for later in 2025. The game transports players to a Lovecraftian dream world, where the main feature is a living sentient train called the RailGod, which serves as both a fortress and a weapon. This title combines ARPG combat with survival elements and base building directly on the moving train. Players praise the unique concept, atmosphere, and combat system, reminiscent of Diablo or Torchlight. Nevertheless, there is significant criticism for rough implementation, UI bugs, unreliable hitboxes, long loading times, and inconvenient inventory and crafting management. Some find the maps too large and empty, and the early game too generic. In response to this feedback, developers plan approximately 9 months of early access to introduce new areas, zones, enemies, railgod carriages, and an obelisk challenge mechanic by June-July, followed by a new area, boss fight, and dungeoneering mechanics by August-September. They are also reworking ranged combat for smoother aiming and movement, adding more visual feedback for key actions like healing. The game's price will increase upon full release to reflect the added content and improvements. TRON Catalyst, an isometric narrative-driven action-adventure from Bythell Games, in collaboration with Disney and Big Fan Games, was released on June 17 for PS5, Xbox Series, PC, and Nintendo Switch. The game transports players to the world of TRON, where they play as a program named Exile, who possesses a glitch allowing her to create time loops. She must uncover a mystery within the ARQ grid, a new self-evolving digital realm where events unfold. Gameplay includes on-foot combat using an identity disc, abilities, and a parry system, and light cycle sections. TRON Catalyst is a continuation of the visual novel TRON Identity, but can be played as a standalone story. Those who've already played highlight the striking visuals reminiscent of the films and soundtrack as pros. On the downside, they mention repetitive, simplified, and often mediocre combat, an underutilized time loop mechanic, and a short, superficial plot that focuses more on world building than character development. The game's combat is functional but simplistic, and the time loop mechanic, while promising, often feels linear. The plot, though intriguing, prioritizes world building over character development, leading to a short campaign that some found shallow. That's all about isometric games. If you found something you liked, hit the like button and drop your picks in the comments. Also, check out top 15 new PS5 exclusive of this and next year. And if you're a racing fan, don't miss top 10 new PS5 racing games of 2025. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.